Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, continuing on reviewing Christmassy films on the weekdays, and I've got my dad, aka Little Blue, and that's right. And as I teased in the last review video, this being, a Christmassy film, but also considered the best romantic comedy Christmas film. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it pretty much is.
It is.
It's definitely
is, yeah.
one of the top best ones.
One of the best.
One of the best romantic/comedy films, and for it being a Christmas film.
Yeah.
And that being, and seeing as how that this year it's celebrating its anniversary, and of course, have to review this. Love Actually. Yeah. So, what are the first things we have to say about Love Actually before we read the description/story?
Well, there's several stories going on within the movie.
Yeah.
There's several characters.
It's one of those movies, with several stories going on.
And it takes place in Britain, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Hugh Grant, who plays David, who is the newly elected Prime Minister of Britain, and he falls for this younger staff member, and he's kind of, the whole thing is just kind of cat and mouse.
It's kind of almost focused on him.
Yeah, it is. But a lot of the characters are linked. You see, a lot of them are linked together. Their lives are linked together.
Yeah.
But they follow their stories separately.
Yeah, that is true. When we go back and forth on any character in this movie.
You have Alan Rickman's character,
the late legendary Alan Rickman.
Yes, God rest his soul.
Exactly.
He is tempted. He's married, but he is tempted by his good-looking new secretary that's been hired, and she's really making serious passes at him.
And his personality in this, I think that's just for every Alan Rickman character.
Yeah.
Even Severus Snape.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but before we continue on, we might as well read we have to, of course, and as always, read the description/story if you want to take it away. So,
that would be 9 intertwined stories. As I said,
9.
Examine the complexities of the one emotion that connects us all: love. Among the characters explored, David, played by Hugh Grant, handsomely new elected British Prime Minister who falls for a younger staffer, played by Martine McCutcheon. Sarah Laura Linney,
played by Lauren Linney.
Yeah, a graphic designer whose devotion to her mentally ill brother complicates her love life. And then Harry, played by Alan Rickman.
Yep.
He's a married man attempted by his attractive new secretary.
And that's it. So,
but you also have, in that, because it's not listed on there. I'm trying to find the kid that was.
No, I mean, he's sometimes, we always have IMDb up. Sometimes they just randomly, I don't know. I mean, that could happen in some movies, I guess. Sam, right? Because is that who we're talking about?
Yeah, I think it was Sam, and
played by Thomas Brody Sangster, if I'm saying that right.
Thomas Sangster,
and Liam Neeson, who plays the Sam's stepdad,
and is absolutely he is just so good.
We
as
talked
his
about
stepdad.
that.
That character, I think that Liam Neeson's character is it's the perfect stepdad. And is like his real dad, because he is going to...
Liam Neeson's dad?
Yes, Liam Neeson's character he goes to... Who's Daniel. His name is Daniel in the film. He goes to great lengths to help his stepson. I mean, he thinks his stepson, he has a problem. He's scared to death that he's suicidal, and after his mother's passing. But then
thinking that Sam is suicidal, or
but
that's not the case.
It's not the case. He's in love.
Yes,
and
that's what it is.
And Daniel, Liam Neeson's character, is so happy that he will just do anything to help him.
And relieved that Sam was not suicidal.
And I mean, it was just was absolutely, it was the coolest.
That I didn't remember, because I know I did watch this recently, and I had forgotten about that part, thinking that he thought that Sam was suicidal. But
I'd have to say one of my favorite characters in the movie was Bill Nighy, playing Billy Mack, the old washed-up rock star.
He was one of the first characters that we see at the beginning of this movie.
He is the first character we see at the beginning of the movie, because he's re-recording one of his hit songs. And he's saying Christmas
instead of love,
yeah,
because love was one of the original lyrics but because it's Christmas, changing it to Christmas.
Yeah.
And having a hard time, like, he's going through a lot, basically.
But I loved his character. He was so, kind of a, playing almost like a Keith Richards type, you know? It was he was just kind of loose, playing it loose, and didn't really care what he said, didn't really care what people thought, you know? And he, you know, but I really loved that character. So there was a lot of good character development in that.
Yep.
Martin Freeman played in it. Played a. We'll just say,
John played by Martin Freeman, and just Judy. I didn't know that was what she was called. Like just Judy, played by Joanna Page.
We'll just say they were both film stars, and we'll leave it at that. But it was really funny.
They were like, I guess, filming sex scenes in movies.
It was they were rated at. They were X-rated actors.
If you know what we're talking about,
X-rated actors. So
we'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. It was funny, but they do end up getting together at the end. It was really
their personalities and how they're interacting with each other.
Oh, I know. It's just so casual. You know, and the scene.
Yeah,
what's going on?
That's the word I'm looking for. Casual.
What's going on? You're just like, oh my gosh! It's like, you know, evidently it's just so routine. They do this all the time.
You know, there's really not that much for their characters, but at the same time, like, we know what's going on with them and what happens at the end for them in the movie, so...
Yeah, exactly.
There's also other characters, Mark and Peter. Mark played by Andrew Lincoln, and Peter played by... how's his full name pronounced? You know.
I would call it Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Who was in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the voice of Scar in the live-action Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically, what about the character of Mark, you know?
Mark, if I recall, he is the one that went to America, correct?
No.
Okay.
No, he's the one that falls for Peter's now wife, you know, Juliet. Played by Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
And you know what? Because
that's a really pitiful storyline, because he's hopelessly in love with his best friend's new wife, and there's nothing he can do about it. But he's really finally he tells her, he lets her know how he feels about her, and she kisses him, more or less just kind of it was more or less, I would call it more
at the end,
an acknowledgement that I appreciate how you feel about me. You know, that's it.
I guess we can call it a friendly kiss or something?
Yeah, it was a friendly kiss.
Is that how we can describe it?
Yeah, it was it was not intimate at all. It was just a friendly kiss. Even though it was on the lips, it was a friendly kiss.
Mm-hmm. And because this came out the same year that Keira Knightley was in the first Pirates film.
Of course.
And this kicked her off doing those two movies. And the fact that, coincidentally, a few years later, Keira Knightley would work with her fellow Love Actually actor Bill Nighy in the next two pirate movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a fact.
That's very cool.
But the one guy who travels trying to find a girl, and wanting to go to America, about him, because
that was an hilarious storyline.
I know.
I'm trying to recall the name of the actor who played that. There were so many good actors in that.
Yeah, and they're not really lined up on its IMDb page,
No, they're not. But is he farther down?
I don't know, because I'll tell you this: Alan Rickman is listed all the way down, and so is Thomas Brody. So.
Yeah, that was the kid. So Alan Rickman, yeah.
It might have been Carl. I think it's Carl.
I think it is Carl. He looks
played by Rodrigo Santoro, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah,
so
he was.
Maybe it's him.
You went
by looking at pictures. So
I was looking. There was a picture there. Okay,
no,
that was the wrong one. So he, I don't know. It may be him, but anyway, his character was hilarious because he went to the United States because he just couldn't catch a break with a girl. And he finally told his friend, he said, I'm going to America. He said, because the women will go crazy over me, you know.
No, this is him.
Colin Frissell.
Played by Chris Marshall.
Yeah, Chris Marshall. And
this works.
His character was so good. And then he goes to America, and then he
got lucky.
These girls just go crazy over him, and then he brings back to
that one being
Britain.
Harriet,
and he brings and one of them comes back to see his best friend. His best friend just can't believe that he was actually successful.
He was really.
And he brings one back for him
because his friend really thought that he was going to just not get lucky. You know, he was going to fail.
Oh yeah, he thought he was going to fail. So.
Also, the other characters in this, Sarah, played by Laura Linney. What's going on with her? Because about her.
Laura Linney, it was really kind of a sad. To me, it was she had a mentally ill brother who was in a home, and she is absolutely madly in love with this guy that she works with, and he likes her too.
It's him, Carl
Rodrigo Santa. Yeah,
yes,
he's the guy, and he ends up. I guess he's just completely turned off by the fact that she keeps answering the phone and talking to her brother, when in fact she's trying to take care of her brother. And I'll admit, under the circumstances, she could have turned her phone off because her brother was just going to keep calling her and aggravating her. Sorry, I don't mean to sound cold, but that's just the way it is.
I know. I know. Well, because her brother's going through a lot. I think like in a mental hospital or something.
Yeah, he is, but he was being cared for. And he was just calling her, just being real needy. And I got to admit, that scene got on my nerves. It did, because I thought she made a mistake to keep answering the phone. I just thought. So now, Billy Bob Thornton. This is really interesting.
Oh yeah, Billy Bob Thornton. Bob Thornton's appearance as the U.S. president, like the president of the United States of America.
And I will guarantee you that he was absolutely portraying Bill Clinton.
Well, they never say by name who the president is.
No, but I'm not going to say why. But if you see this movie, Love Actually, and when you see Billy Bob Thornton as the president of the United States, and see his mannerisms, how he acts, things he does, you're going to agree with me. Yep, that's Bill Clinton, all right. Maybe not maybe he's not Bill Clinton, but his hair and everything, and it's styled that way. Trust me, he's doing a Bill Clinton.
Absolutely. And there's this one guy who was, I guess like he was a writer or something, and he fell for his, I guess like the lady who like helped him around the house. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember because who it was. Like it's them right here. Yeah, it's Colin Firth and Lucia Moniz.
Loved this. I love this storyline. I will tell you that she was from Portugal, and I don't know if she actually, but I will tell you, she is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah,
beautiful woman, and he falls in love with her.
Jamie, played by Colin Firth, and Lucia, because being played by, well, where is she? Because again, I hate it when IMDb does this sometimes. See if you'll spot her.
Lucia?
Yeah.
Well, you had it. Had it up there on.
Yeah,
it's
like sometimes
you changed it.
It's like I did, but yeah, you're still gonna find it in the cast, of course. And I know I would see the picture, her IMDb profile picture. So.
Well, I think if you go back to what you had before,
it won't be necessary because I'm. So, well, the thing is while I'm doing that, the character of Jamie, like, because he was in a previous relationship, but then his girlfriend cheated on him.
There she is.
And yeah,
Lucia Moniz and
Aurelia from
Aurelia.
Okay,
Aurelia. She was beautiful, and she spoke Portuguese. He spoke English, and they could not. They
communicate.
They couldn't communicate verbally,
and they didn't know each other's languages.
But they sort of learned. They both fell for each other,
of
and
course.
they didn't even realize it because of the language barrier.
Even like when,
but he goes when she finishes taking care of him at that retreat.
And there was that one scene. There was one scene at that house where his papers flew and went to the river.
Yeah, and she undressed and jumped in, and then he jumped in, and that's just all that. But what happened was,
right.
He goes away. He goes, he's pining for her. So he goes back to Britain, and he learns Portuguese.
Yes, he does.
And she learns English. She learns some English. in their absence, and she never thinks she's going to see him again. He never thinks he's going to see, but he is determined to get back to her, and he goes to Portugal on Christmas Eve.
Yes,
and his family ends up getting mad at him because he walks out the door on him because he's just like, I got to go do this, and he just it's like
he knew it because he knew what he had to do was right,
and even his
I'm sure that his family would understand it later on.
His character Jamie, he as he's leaving, one of the kids, I hate Uncle Jamie, crying because I guess they thought he brought him Christmas presents and they weren't going to get him. So I don't know, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, and meeting her parents, Lucia's parents,
and he was kind of butchering the English language or the Portuguese language with when they showed the translation of what he was actually saying.
Yes,
but he got his point across.
Yeah, and they figured, they of course knew.
Yeah, and then she got her point across. But that was I'm glad you brought that up because there's so many storylines in this movie that you could follow, and it just
and more on like Billy Mack because what's going on with him, and like I guess his manager or something by the name of Joe. Like, is his manager? Or?
Joe, that's his manager.
Yeah. George, played by Gregor
Fisher.
Gregor Fisher.
He was his lifelong manager, and took care of him and everything. And he just kind of got used to being cast by the wayside. But in the end, Bill Nighy's character, Billy Mack, he realizes that this is who I need to spend Christmas Eve with, not anybody else. I need to spend it with the man who has stood by me from the beginning. And so he spent Christmas and celebrated Christmas with his manager, which I thought was really heartwarming, And his manager was touched. He was surprised, but he was touched, And that was cool.
And by the way, because we didn't mention her yet, Alan Rickman, because his character, married to his wife, Karen, played by Emma Thompson.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, I forget, because, like, what is going on between them exactly? Because, with both of them.
Well, now, help me out again here. Help me remember.
Alan Rickman's character is being married to Karen and
Emma Thompson.
Yes, yeah.
They had been married for a while. They had kids, right?
Yeah.
But
Harry,
they were, the part that you really feel so bad for her. He's flirting, and she's flirting back with his secretary, and she's like, "What are you going to get me for Christmas?" And he says, and he kind of looks at her funny, like he's still on guard, and he's like, "Well, what do you want?" And she said, he said, "How about pencils or something like this?" She said, "No, I want something shiny, So he's out with his wife. His wife.
Yes.
And they're in a department store. He goes to the jewelry counter.
That sequence, and we get a cameo of Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson does brilliant work as the store clerk.
Yes.
Wrapping the gift, and it's driving Alan Rickman crazy.
And even when he's telling Rowan Atkinson that, can we speed this up?
Yeah.
But he's taking his time.
He's taking his time. He's adding rosebuds, all this stuff, and all this, and cinnamon sticks. Who cares?
Yeah, who does something like that?
I know, and he's doing all this stuff to, pretty up the present, I guess, the Christmas present, and
exactly,
and yeah, absolutely. He's just about to lose. Alan Rickman's character is about to lose his mind because he's taking his time, and then of course, just as he gets it finished, his wife walks up.
Yeah, and of course
now his wife thinks, "This is what I'm getting for Christmas. I'm getting jewelry." But not what happened. Christmas morning, she opens it up, and it is it's a CD collection of Joni Mitchell, which is her favorite musician. And when she realizes that that's all it is, she gets upset because she realizes that he has bought somebody else jewelry.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have the affair with the secretary.
No,
and he and his wife they reconcile. But it's just you feel so sorry for her when she realizes, and she opens that Christmas gift and realizes that he didn't buy that for her. He didn't buy that jewelry for her. He bought it for somebody else.
But he still didn't get it. Like
that had to be a devastating blow because she went off and cried.
Yeah,
which was really sad.
And while listening to the songs,
exactly.
Yeah.
So But anyway, that was an interesting dynamic between he and his wife, how that played out. But they pulled it together.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little concerned there at one point, but it got back together. So.
And coming back to, like, say, Mark and, you know, how he feels over Juliet, because, yeah, like what we talked about, like that part, because where, you know, she gave him a friendly kiss, but, like, just that, because she asked him, like, for, like, the footage he took, you know, of their wedding and such, and watching that footage, like, it was mostly her on camera, the entire footage.
Yeah, and that's where he was exposed, because she realized
she figured it out.
She realizes, hey, he's got feelings for me. He's clearly enamored with me. You know, he's taking all these photos. So yeah, it was it was interesting, and you feel he is just completely exposed. You feel embarrassed for him, sort of.
Yeah,
definitely. And then but I think it ends okay, and his best friend obviously never finds out about it. So
no, of course not. And more with the Prime Minister and Natalie, because if I'm correct, is when they first met, like he fell for her, right? Because
he did as soon as he saw her, and I thought she was lovely. I mean, beautiful. And
he's trying to make a good impression on her, and I think her too trying to make a good impression on him because he's the prime minister.
He stumbles over himself a few times, which is really funny. But boy, oh boy, does he pull it together when he stands up in front of the president. He puts the president in his place, which I love.
That's another thing, because Natalie went to the same room with the president, and when the prime minister walked back in, he thought, "You want to take this?" Like, what did he think?
He knew that the president was making a pass at his secretary, and
Natalie being the secretary.
Boy, that really got him mad.
But that wasn't the case, actually.
No, it wasn't. And she told him. She said,
exactly.
She moved away from him. So he, it's just, it was just interesting. That's why I say when you watch this, you're going to see Bill Clinton in this. I'm sorry. Yeah, you just
were you was he doing the voice?
Sort of was
doing the mannerisms, I guess, because I'm not sure if I was getting that vibe of, he's acting like Bill Clinton. I was not. Because, you know what? Here's the thing. Usually in some movies that I can think of, it's a different person as the president. Sometimes.
It is, but I think they were taking some of his style. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
His mannerisms, his style. That's what reminded me of Bill Clinton. So anyway.
Yeah. I'm just saying, because I can think of two X-Men movies where it was a completely different man as the president. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. But in some of the X-Men movies, we did have the actual presidents, Nixon, etc. But I'm just saying, there have been some movies where it would be a completely different man who is president of the United States. So there's that. And more with Liam Neeson, Sam, and Daniel, because Daniel helping out Sam, and even they at one point watched Titanic.
And there's the opportunity for him, the girl he's in love with, she is basically the star in this school Christmas play. And she's singing, and so he learns to play drums.
Oh, no.
And Daniel lets him, allows him to get a drum set and practice.
Joanna Anderson.
And it just about drives him nuts because you can see him in the hallway just pacing, going, because it's so loud. And his...
But still,
his stepson...
But still, he knows that this is very important for Sam, so...
He becomes a good drummer. I mean, he learns to play drums. He's passionate and he's determined.
Yes.
And he learns to play drums. And he ends up getting the audition, and he plays drums in the
at that school.
Yeah. And he just wanted to get her attention. Well, as it turns out, finally, he just figured she would never have anything to do with him. Didn't even know he was alive.
And
as a matter of fact,
noticed his presence.
As a matter of fact, she did. She knew who he was, and she was taken by him just as much as he was taken by her.
Yeah.
And he follows her to the airport because she's leaving.
Now, how did she know him,
Well, they were in school together.
Okay.
They were
Okay,
in school together.
and that whole sequence at the school, because this is where pretty much everybody gets together.
Yes.
Yeah, and some of them do have connections. Most of them, like
yes, Emma Thompson's character is the sister
of the Prime Minister.
Of the Prime Minister, played by Hugh Grant.
What's the Prime Minister's actual name? I forget. It's not going to show, but
it should show his.
Well, no, that's something else. Like if I just go back to IMDb.
Yeah, his name, his first name is there at least.
I think so.
It is, and it was in the movie. So find us.
It's just called the Prime Minister, even on IMDb. Like,
well, maybe that is all we hear. I remember getting into his character, but I don't even recall that name. So absolutely, it may just be he may have just been called the Prime Minister. That's interesting.
Yeah. So again, the Prime Minister is the brother of Karen, played by Emma Thompson.
Right.
And I kind of almost forgot, like, whatever characters have connections, like, you know.
Of course, Emma Thompson is married to Alan Rickman.
Yes, but I'm talking about, like, whenever other characters is on screen with other characters. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, at the end you see the friend of the guy.
I mean, that's another thing. Some of them are friends, and some of them know each other.
They know each other.
Yeah. I think yes, because Karen knew Daniel, so yeah, they knew each other. They're friends, of course.
Right.
And once again, all of them being there. And by the way, before the sequence of the school, because the Prime Minister was going door to door looking for her, you know?
That was so funny. That was so funny. And then
I know,
and they asked those kids asked him to sing a Christmas carol.
Yes.
And so he and his bodyguard they sang a Christmas and his bodyguard had this great voice,
and
this powerful
knew
voice.
The lyrics.
He knew the lyrics, and so Hugh Grant's character, the Prime Minister, he starts singing. Turns around like this, like, oh man, you can really sing. You know, it was really funny.
Yes, it was. And eventually, when he comes to the house where Natalie is and all her family is,
yep,
and helping them, like, give them a lift to the school, and that one kid, like, in the octopus costume. Yeah, there's that. And they're getting, like, back in the back of the school where they're watching. And after, like, the performance, of Joanna Anderson, well, they get exposed, Natalie and the Prime Minister. Mm-hmm. That was a funny moment right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was, the movie itself was just great because you had all these little stories going on at the same time, but they were all, most of them were interlinked. And, in the end, it was just completely interlinked. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Hugh Grant that was doing the voiceover narration.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot, because there were times where Hugh Grant was doing some narration and how the movie opened and ended.
Exactly. So it was a great movie. I give it.
Well, we're not finished yet, because again, with Daniel and Sam, because Sam finally got a kiss from a girl, on the cheek.
Yeah. And
golly, those security guards chasing him and just like
in the airport, yeah.
Golly.
Well, security.
Yeah,
but it's 2003. This is post 9/11, so he was, he was.
Well, and the fact they do mention 9/11, so
but the funny part is Daniel, Liam Neeson's character is encouraging him, all the way. Mm-hmm. He's not trying to stop him. He's encouraging him, break the rules, Which this was bad.
This was Sam's moment. Like, this had to happen. This had to happen.
And I don't think it was necessarily bad. That's why I thought that Liam Neeson's character was probably my favorite character in the movie, because of the fact he was such a good dad. He was such a good dad.
And the dad that Sam never had.
Yes.
Like, I forget. Does the movie mention what? Because we know what happens to Sam's mom, but
she dies. But
what about the flesh and blood? Like,
his biological father.
That's the word I was looking.
I'm not really sure. I don't think they ever established that in the movie. What happened?
Yeah.
If they do, it's a brief mention, but I don't even recall.
Because I think they at least have to mention his biological father.
Right.
And coincidentally, both with the characters of Joanna and Sam, like the actors who plays them, maybe you forgot about this. Thomas Brody and Olivia Olson. They would go on to be in Phineas and Ferb, voicing two characters that would eventually get together. Ferb and Vanessa.
Yeah,
Do you remember that now? Because
I think so. Yeah.
Doofenshmirtz's daughter. So
Yeah.
So what? Hey, what a coincidence! And it's true. Just funny to think of that. It is one of those things. So, and the ending to it, because at the airport and everybody's like, where did the Prime Minister go? Because he came back. Like both him and
he had been out of town.
Both him and Natalie.
And she well,
no,
no,
no, because she was
jumped
still
into
there.
his arms.
Yeah,
and and he told her, he told her because her last boyfriend had broken up with her because he said she was too heavy, she needed to lose weight. And then when she jumps in his arms, he looks at her. Hugh Grant looks at her and he goes, "You are heavy," which was, he was joking. It was just a very. But she was beautiful, so.
Of course, yeah. And again, because Karen and her husband, Alan Rickman, because things are okay for them now. Like, they patch things up.
Yeah, they do patch things up, and you feel like it strengthens their bond, because Alan Rickman realizes, that this is not the way to go.
No.
Even though there's temptation, it's just not.
I was really thinking when watching the movie, and with him and with his assistant at where he works, like where he runs, and he's the boss of that place. Like, he wasn't really falling for anything, I guess, for her.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I think it was obvious at times, and like, it was a very emotional ending, in a happy way. So.
Oh yeah, it had a happy ending. It was all the way around a happy ending. I mean, it really was. And you like happy endings in movies. So.
And also, things are good between, like, Juliet and, of course, with her husband and Mark. So
yes, exactly.
Yep, just for everybody, get a happy ending.
You did. You got a happy ending, which I liked.
And again, how this movie opens and how it ends, because we see actual, footage of people, whoever it is, like boyfriend, girlfriend, relative, how it opens and how it ends.
Yes.
It was a nice way to open it and to end it.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I remember just another thing, I remember you saying, when you watched this, you cried at some stuff. Because there are some kind of emotional moments, and if anybody...
I teared up a couple times, yes.
Can you think of, which ones?
It was, mostly the scenes with,
yes,
Liam Neeson and his son.
Daniel and Sam.
That probably struck me emotionally more than any. It struck a chord emotionally because of anything else. Because I am a dad, so I can relate to that.
And father and son.
Yeah. So it just, I could relate to it, and I could.
Even if he's the stepdad, still, again, and like I said, it's like Daniel became the father that Sam, I guess, never had. Again, the movie, if we even missed it, never mentions Sam's biological father. And if it was mentioned one time, if we missed it, usually, we would forget. I think that goes for anybody, missing some small details and such in movies.
Yeah.
It never fails. It happens.
So can I rate this movie now?
Yeah. Final words to say on this movie, because, again, if not one of the best romantic comedy Christmas films.
Yeah, one of the best. Absolutely one of the best.
Because it does not fail to give us good laughs, but also some really good emotional stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because
it's emotionally charged, for sure.
Absolutely.
A lot of humor in it, but it's a romantic comedy, so you get...
There are plenty of movies like that.
Exactly.
And this being one of them.
And I give this... I give it 5 stars.
5 stars?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because how you rate movies and such. But for me, I give it 10 out of 10.
Okay.
And that sounds about good. So, because everything about this movie is perfect. Wouldn't you say so? Because
couldn't have put it better.
Oh yeah, and and by the way, because Bill Nighy's character, of course, he got a happy ending. Of course,
Oh yeah. Yeah, he did.
I'm trying to remember, I can't. I'm thinking if there was something going on during the credits. I don't think so. Even for Bill Nighy's character.
No, if his record went to number 1, And
even in like when he was
he said
even,
if it went to number one, he was going to play naked on TV,
and
which he did.
Even he had the guitar
Yeah,
covering
the
his
guitar
junk.
covering his, you know.
Even though he went through some embarrassing stuff, you know what? He still pulled through. And
Oh, yeah.
what happened with him at the end and his manager. So
Yeah, it was awesome.
absolutely. For everybody, every character in this movie, the nine stories that was going on in the film.
Yes.
And what happened in the 9 stories going on in this movie, it ended perfectly for them. So,
Yeah.
just again, everything about Love Actually, what a great romantic, comedy, holiday/Christmas film this is. And what about you guys? What did you think of Love Actually itself? And you know, what did you think of our review? Leave comments and give this review video a like as always. And if it's one of your favorite romantic/comedy Christmas films, like it's ours, it's one of our favorites. Yep. And happy anniversary to Love Actually. And any last words?
I must be off.
He says that for me. Again, we hope you've enjoyed, and you know, you let us know what you thought of our review of Love Actually. More reviews are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and we'll see you guys in the next video/review.
And remember, Santa Claus is watching you.
And because you mentioned Santa Claus, because, well, seeing as how this has Billy Bob Thornton in it,
Bad Santa?
yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty much going to do this one alone.
Yeah, you're going to do that one alone. So.
You're going to bail out.
Yeah, I'm going to bail out, yeah.
Okay, because, hey, that was a perfect time to mention that because of what I just mentioned. Seeing as how that Bad Santa is celebrating its anniversary, and, hey, Billy Bob Thornton doing 2 Christmas movies the same year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So,
Yeah.
All right. So stay tuned for that. And again, happy anniversary to Love Actually. Take care, peace out, and happy holidays/Merry Christmas to you all.